Welcome to Empowered by AI, the podcast for women entrepreneurs ready to harness AI to take their businesses to the next level. I'm your host, Michelle Muncie Silva, founder of Innovative AI Studios. You may have left corporate life to start this entrepreneurial journey, but you don't have to go it alone. Here, you'll find a supportive community of like-minded women and an invaluable thought partner each week, as my guests and I share actionable insights you can use right away. So let's dive in together. We have Diane Hammons with us today, ladies. I am so excited. I've been really looking forward to this conversation all week because it's just so timely. Diane, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone and then we will jump.
Sounds perfect. I'm Diane Hammons, and I'm the Director of Digital Engagement at WG Content. So we are a small content generation, content creation, and strategy company. Specifically, our clients are, for the most part, in the healthcare space, health systems, but also healthcare adjacent companies, devices, insurance, things like that. Yeah, and so my role, Director of Digital Engagement, I'm responsible for our tech stack. But so a couple of years ago, I'm also responsible for AI because, of course, that hit hard. And give my leadership credit that as small as we are, they were like, we can't be afraid of this. We need to right away just jump in and figure out what it's all about. So that's my role. Our mission is to improve relationships one word at a time. And I like to say that my role is to improve relationships with technology.
Yeah.
One at a time.
I love it. I feel of that. And you just mentioned small. So many of the women that are listening to the podcast, so many of us are either solo entrepreneurs or small business owners. Can you share a moment in your career that might help us see when did visibility make a clear difference for you, for opportunities, for impact that we can hang on to and relate to?
Yeah, I'll give you an example to, again, maybe inspire your audience. One of the past companies I worked for was a smallish technology company, about 100 people. So on the small side, not solopreneur, but small side. And they had great word of mouth. But they relied on that so long and realized at some point, if you want to grow, or even if you don't want to necessarily increase the number of people or have a staff, you just want to grow your presence. And that is going to require a website. What they had was very minimal. They didn't have anyone to maintain it. And they realized they brought me on as their first ever focused marketing person. And that was the first thing I did. I realized word of mouth or not, you need a presence. You need a place where your clients can go to and point to and say, yeah, that's the company I work for. That's exactly the professionalism that I get every day, but now I can point to it and I'm proud that I work with that company. And then also naturally from there, and then of course you also start to get Google hits and it doesn't hurt to get new business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, no, for sure. And when you think about how things have shifted now, when you think about visibility today, now that we're in this AI era and we're hearing terms like AI engine optimization as opposed to SEO, now we have AIEO and we're hitting all the vowels.
Yes.
How has that shifted compared to what it was when you went through this previously?
Gosh, I've always worked in the marketing space in some way, shape, or form. So for me, visibility has always meant brand awareness. How do you get in front of your audience? About 5 years ago, that started to change and it felt very unconventional because you had to start looking more and more at social channels and where is my audience? And maybe it's TikTok now. And oh my gosh, what do I do there? And do I need to think about influencer marketing, things like that? Do I need a YouTube channel? So now when I think visibility, it's AI because you have all these platforms. You have AI overviews. Google now has an AI mode as well. You got ChatGPT and Perplexity, and they're getting more and more popularity. With that, you realize it's still a bit of a focus on influencer marketing. Only now the influencer is AI.
Yeah.
Because it's curating that response. It's looking out there and saying, okay, what I know about this conversation, what I know from past conversations with my user, this is what I think is best for them. This is the best answer. And it's deciding. So it
Mhm.
becomes the new influencer that you need to make sure you're on the radar.
That's interesting that I've never heard it phrased quite that way. That's an interesting way to think of it. It's like AI is the influencer. With that being said, what do you think are one or two practices that you use right now that have the most impact on being seen without that idea of, oh, I'm feeding the algorithm? Because, of course, algorithms change. We know that. So sometimes that feels a little hamster wheely, right? So, what are one or two things that we could do that would have impact?
I'll tell you two things we're doing at WG Content right now that are really simple. Most of us probably, if you're a solopreneur, you probably have a blog or you put out LinkedIn articles or something like that. But two of the things we've started incorporating, and you can go to the WG Content blog and take a look. And honestly, I encourage you, it's borrowing a good idea. And that's what we're here to do is share ideas. Go to wgcontent.com and take a look at our blog. We've started to add key takeaways at the top of every blog. And it's just, probably all of you have a blog or have to write LinkedIn articles, something. You can incorporate this same practice. These key takeaways are just that. It's some people can call it, you can call it a summary, you can call it too long, didn't read, but it's something a human enjoys. If I don't do anything else, I can read this part and decide if I want to read more. AI loves it too, because it knows then right away. It has an exact sense of what's on that page. And if it wants, it can also lift that right off of there. And that's your goal, having some nice, concise information that it can lift. When it lifts, then you're cited. So the other thing we do is at the end of every blog, and we incorporate some FAQ style questions. It's those follow-up questions. Think about it like if you were in Google and people also ask when you're searching for something. These are those kind of questions, those follow-up questions. And again, you give a real small but concise answer, and it gives humans what they're looking for, but also AI something it can very deliberately lift. So that's been working out well for us and for others as well. So that's two real quick things that you could do that can make a pretty immediate impact.
That sounds incredible. I love that. That would be so interesting to generate for each one of your posts. Where do you suggest people draw the line, though? So we want AI to boost visibility, right? But we don't want to feel generic, or obviously, we never want to sound robotic, disconnected. Here's that fine line that we need to be aware of.
That's where I personally find AI optimization to feel more relatable than SEO, because ironically, it's still a machine, but I think some of what it responds to feels very human-like, things that humans respond to. So in that way, it's refreshing to approach your content with that lens of improving it for a human, and it's also going to improve it for AI. But in general, they keep it from being too generic. It's keeping that human in the loop. You may have heard there are terms out there like AI slop. There's a lot of AI slop.
Don't get me started on M dash.
Oh, I love the M dash. It doesn't mean I'm using AI. Great with it all.
For those of us that
Fine.
love the dash.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm not stopping. But yeah, the AI slop is more of when it doesn't have a human involved, because then it does a great first pass, but it can lack some of that natural empathy and connectedness that we bring when a human approaches something. And when I say that, that doesn't mean fluff per se. I'm not talking about necessarily emotional fluff, because you could have a technical document and it still benefits from a human, because it's that human that takes that look. Let's say it's totally AI generated, but gosh darn it, make sure you have a human look at it and think, would that step really be better if it was broken out into two? Do I need to interject an example here? I think that will relate much better to the people reading it if I do. Should this be in a chart? all of those decisions are what you bring to the table as a human with experience, knowing how other humans are also going to interact with your content. So if anything, that's where I draw the line. Never anything fully AI automated. Maybe there'll be a day, but for right now, it's very critical to keep our humanness in it.
Yeah. Yeah. And on the flip side of that, what is one maybe underused resource that you think most entrepreneurs are going to have this, they could totally optimize that for more reach?
I am going to say, probably not surprisingly, it's how I kicked off your website. It's, y- you don't necessarily have to have a professional come in and help you just to start to make some headway, to make some tweaks. 50 to 90% of AI citations are from your brand website. So that's in your control if you just make sure it's optimized. And you can start by making small steps. So, like I just mentioned with the blog, that's a small step. Making sure, and a lot of this is SEO best practices. Maybe you're incorporating them already. Making sure your content's structured, which means it has a very clear headline, subhead. You use bullets thoroughly, those types of things. So just reviewing your website. Now, another thing that even large corporations haven't done that is very powerful is schema markup. That's something if you are like really do want to maybe get a little assistance with, it's the coding that a web developer puts behind a page that kind of puts, we'll just call them like tags on your content. And so AI can come along and it can see, this is a bio. I see name. That's the name. I see location. This is where they are. I'm in a healthcare world, so I think often about things like that, like hospital system, specialty. All those things are tagged behind the scenes, and it's another cue that AI can very easily digest your information. So things like that just help it along so it doesn't have to guess and inferring. It doesn't have to, it's hard to figure out what's on your page. And see, I'm trying to think if there are any other real easy AEO and GEO recommendations. We could talk about that. I could go on, but another one, FAQs. Or FAQs, yes, but I would say PDFs. We'll talk about both.
Yeah, go for it. I want to know about those.
FAQs. It's sometimes our instinct is to have a page dedicated just to FAQs. But they tend to be, they're related to a point, but it's a giant list. Better to break those out and put them on your relevant pages, like we do with the blog, where there are those follow-up questions to other pages where AI can see the relevance and can pull them out as people also ask. They get lost if you put them on an FAQ page and they start to compete with your other pages. I'm like, which page do I go to? Which is the authority on this subject, on this service line, on this whatever it might be on your webpage? The other thing is PDFs. Again, we see a lot with larger companies, but where you just put a PDF on the page, a link that they can download. And that's okay if you want, if it's a marketing tactic, a downloadable to maybe you haven't filled out a form because you want to get some leads. That's okay. But if it's very deliberately gated content, but if you have it on there just because I already created it, I'll just add it to my site, it's not going to be looked at. AI will not look at your PDF. So you need to pull that information out and make sure it's on the page.
Got it. So while it might be, because I'm thinking lead magnets, right?
Yeah,
So many people.
If you deliberately don't, if it isn't critical that somebody find on your website, you deliberately want it as a lead magnet, that's okay. But make sure some of that content is elsewhere. If it has a key point, a very key message, something that shows your authority on a subject, make sure it's incorporated somewhere within your site because it won't be picked up there.
Okay. That makes sense. So if we were to say, All right, there's some really good information, right? We've got the idea of FAQs, not just on one spot, but spread on pages that it makes sense to have them. We're talking about the blog modifications where we're setting them up for success. With what else you might ask at the bottom, as well as too long, dear reader type of key points at the top. Are there other shifts that you see happening in the next few months where it's going to impact that discoverability and SEO?
Honestly, the impact is those numbers are going to keep going up. Those number of people who are using AI to search instead of Google. So that doesn't mean you abandon Google. Gosh, they still have a 90% market share, but it is going to continue to shift, especially with the younger generation. So depending on your business model, Gen Z they're really going all in on AI. So if you want to be discovered, that's the shift. It can't be a maybe I will or maybe I won't worry about it. It's going to be a have to be really soon, or else you're just going to start to see the divide more. And that's where a small business has some opportunity. It's remarkable in these early days how often when I'm doing some kind of manual discovery, sometimes for our clients who try to see, just manually putting in prompts to see where they may or may not show up, to kind of make note of that, backwards investigate why. But it's amazing how often a smaller business will come up in the number one spot over the larger ones. And that's because you can have a smaller controlled site. You can be more nimble. And smaller businesses, sometimes because we aren't constrained by the same large governance policies, we can lean in AI to also help us do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no, that's so true. It's so much easier as a solopreneur to make that decision and be able to follow through on it quickly, as opposed to having to go through committee. What was that? Make that line in Star Wars. I'm not a committee. But making decisions right now. We're running.
Exactly. So here's a great opportunity to be a small company.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you were to say what skills entrepreneurs of small companies or solopreneurs should be building right now, so they're not scrambling to catch up later, what would those skills be, you think?
You can certainly look for a webinar or even just have a conversation with, say, ChatGPT to start to understand those terms, AEO, GEO, and start to understand some of those best practices. Remember, AEO, gosh, it is acronym soup. So let's take a minute.
Yeah, no,
Please back up a second.
Let's not make any assumptions.
Yeah. So, okay. So SEO, let's just make sure everyone's on the same page. No disrespect. I had to learn these things too. It's floating everywhere. And I think people sometimes have some different definitions, but this is how we look at it at WG Content. So SEO, search engine optimization. So just that. It's looking at things like keywords and meta descriptions and trying to rank in Google, where it was, if you follow these kind of rules, but what we've figured out, how we've cracked the code on the algorithm, you can pretty much guarantee you'll start to rise in the ranks. AEO, answer engine optimization. What kind of things do you need to do, or in addition to SEO, to make sure you show up as an answer? So think maybe AI overviews, but certainly things like people also ask, where you just have a short answer. Person asks a question, you want to be the answer. Yeah, the AEO. GEO then is generative engine optimization. That's where we start to look at, now, let's build on that. What else do we need to add so that we can be picked up by these large language models? I don't really like to get caught up in the whole thing. I say SEO and then AI optimization, but these words out there. So if you see any of them, hop on a webinar just to get someone's perspective. You might pick up another tip because we're figuring it out and it changes. And you might find something new tomorrow that I don't know.
God knows. God knows.
Yeah.
The changes are fast and furious, and sometimes the people experiencing them are furious.
What? Yeah. Yes.
So I think that's really sage advice. And I think that if we were to wrap this up with a win and we wanted to throw down the gauntlet, we're going to challenge our listeners. They have 1 hour a week to work on visibility. Where would you challenge them to start?
Wow. Here's a real simple one. Here's just 1 hour, I would say, spend it researching. Spend it learning about these things. Spend it on a webinar. Spend it asking ChatGPT to teach you. It will. But here's another like little thing. There are all these like little things we find are having some success. Does every article in your blog have an author? Make sure it has an author, not written by company name. Make sure it has an author, and that author has a bio. And that bio, you also refresh continually. Michelle, if you have a bio and you've earned some other recognition, go in and update that in your blog bio. Because just like we learned with SEO, AI likes refreshed content. So you could take an hour to even just refresh something. Make sure every byline has a name. Spend some time, and you probably already are, but social still matters. And pointing to your website, because AI is looking all over.
Yeah.
All over at once to determine credibility and authority, more than Google did even. It can pick up those strings that you're a thought leader over here. Oh, and that's that author here. And oh, I see they've got these accolades, these credentials from this third party. Aha. I'm going to lift this then. They're the authority on this.
Nice. So creating those connections and making them obvious.
Yeah. Very much.
All right. I love it. That's a win for me because I haven't updated my bio on my website in since Christ was a child.
It's one and done. You know, you're like, phew, I got that.
Like, that's me. Yeah.
No, you don't think about it. But
No. I just saw somebody that you get the notices on LinkedIn. Oh, this person was looking at your profile. And I saw who it was. And oh my gosh, this is someone I haven't talked to in a really long time.
Yeah.
And so I looked, what did they see? I see this person's been forever. Had to remind myself, what did they see? And I looked at my profile and I went, they saw something that needed to be updated.
I've done that myself. And I think, oh, I've done a bit more since then.
So see, ladies, you're in good company.
Absolutely. Don't take it. Yeah. Don't take any of these suggestions as I've got it all done.
Yeah. We're
No,
learning as
and
we
we
go.
all have a list.
Oh my God, I forever have a list. But you know what? I feel like it's a little bit more purposeful since talking to you. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I so appreciate you. And I really am just the luckiest person in the world. I get to talk to you and I get to learn from this. Now I'm going to go apply. So thank you very much.
1 hour, just 1 hour a week.
Thank you for tuning in to Empowered by AI. If today's episode sparked ideas, don't wait. Follow the link in the show notes to visit innovativeaistudio.com and download your free resource, created to help you put today's insights into practice. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes packed with more tips, tools, and inspiring stories. Until next time, stay empowered and keep innovating.